From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. James, how are you today? You and I get to have a little chat, and I think it's going to be something fun for us to enjoy.
Doing all right. Just, recovering from the buzz of Infocom, as we just wrap that up. And how are you doing?
Same, pretty, it was long weeks, both leading up to it and during, and now's the time to cash in on it and make sure that the investment paid off. But it's good to see everyone, and it's good to always celebrate our industry, and so I appreciate that. I look forward to InfoComm every year. So today, we've had a little bit of a string of guests, which has been great, and we had Dan Farisi in our previous episodes who got to ask us some questions, and I thought we'd do something a little bit different today and play a little game, if you will, and it's something that we could continue moving forward if it's something that works out. So. What we're going to do is I'm going to pose a question and we're going to give three answers and we're going to rank them. And we're going to rank them in terms of, are you going to maintain this? Do you think it needs to be updated or do you think it should be deprecated? So, your favorite answer is maintain, your second favorite answer is update, and your third favorite it would be deprecate, or the last one. So let's start with where do we think is the future of AV control? So are we going to stay with dedicated control systems as we see them now, traditional control systems? Are we going to be moving more toward things that are using off-the-shelf equipment? And we recently had Mark Franklin on from Dartmouth College, and I've seen other people um, provide different types of software-based control. Or are we going to see more control that's localized to specific equipment? So I'm thinking about Zoom, or I'm thinking about Lightware, or I'm thinking about other types of products that have light control built into it that kind of serves the need. So why don't you go first? What do you think?
Well, for me, I would say I will I want to say update on the software based one. I see that being the future. I just don't think it's fully baked and ready to be rolled out yet. There are a lot of people who are on the cutting edge of it, and it looks good. It looks promising. Um, but yeah, I would say so right now at this moment, I would say update on that. Um, I would say maintain the tradition dedicated control system and deprecate the built-in to the products. The reason for the built-in the product deprecate to me, it seems like then we're jumping from product to product to do a simple control, where instead of being a one unified interface where a traditional control system currently gives us, because think about it, we had that prior with remotes. Every product had their own remote, had their own way of controlling it, and you had to switch between remotes. All you're doing there is now changing it from a physical remote to something else, where we built the control system that controls everything. It still works. I still say let's keep that. It is getting antiquated. People want to be able to move around, do things. But from now, maintain.
I I'm having a tough time disagreeing with you on that. But if I'm going to be a little bit different, I would say that um, the software based one, I would say maintain, because I think we're going to see more of it. I think we're going to be seeing more of these, whether they're homegrown or whether they're something that's open source or whether it's something that is truly a software solution. We're going to see more of those pop up, I think. Just in the past year, we've seen quite a number, and there's been a lot of success stories, but they do have to be used in the right situation. And I think when you can control your own environment, and when this is something that you've developed for yourself, it's it could work quite well. I think when you start to have to put it out to the masses and provide technical support and build libraries and be able to stand behind it, I think that's where it's going to see some challenges. But I think we're going to see more of those. I think that the traditional control isn't going to go away, so I would make that update. But I think probably needs to start to evolve. And we saw a little bit of that when we saw during the pandemic more either server-based solutions or cloud-based solutions. And I thought we were heading in the right direction there, but I think that the manufacturers have kind of pulled back on them a bit. And I don't know whether it's to sell more hardware or because it wasn't working. But I think that the hardware tying the solution to hardware is going to be challenged moving forward. It definitely is going to be challenged, and I think the control built into the products. I agree with you that it's functional and it works in certain situations, but it's limited. So it is something that is effective in a pinch, or maybe for a low cost or a very specific situation. But unless it can be managed and maintained on a larger scale, I think we're going to see some challenges there.
Yeah, and I I agree. And that's why I said the software-based one to update, and mainly because I don't think it's mature enough for the masses. I like what they're coming out with. I think you hit some key point, the support. A lot of the current ones that are software-based is like, here it is, make it work, and they're not providing the support because they're not built around that. They're not mature enough to handle that yet. So that's
I,
why I was saying update, because I think that's going to be our future.
Yeah, I agree, and I like I think it's a hard choice between them, which is good a good reason why we ask these questions, and I agree with what your take is, and I think if you're the person that has to make the decision to invest in something like that, you're probably going to lean more toward the traditional because it's the safer bet. But
Yeah.
I think the traditional is going to have to evolve.
Oh, 100% agree on that one.
All right,
Yeah.
let's try this again. Is this how is that? Do you think that was a good little
Yeah,
exercise?
I got a good, I thought that was a good exercise. So I got one for you, Steve. And that is, what user interface is more efficient, or effective? Touch panels, button panels, or web pages?
So I think we're going to disagree because I know which one that you like, and then but that's very cool. Um, I would say maintain touch panels because I think that the customization of them are good and they keep you can um, guide the user, and it gives you also the flexibility to develop whatever is needed. Um, I think that button panels are undersold, so I'll say those as update because I do think that button panels and maybe we could think more along the lines of a Stream Deck where you can have customized buttons. Can be a lot more effective than people think. And then web pages, although I would love to say that they are helping us to get into the IT world and web pages is what everybody knows and uses. I don't quite think that they fit in the AV world the way people think that they will.
It might shock you, Steve, but I actually agree with all of that, especially the web page. And I can speak from personal experience. Back at my old university, back when I think I was even a student worker. I don't even know if I was full time at the time. Um, we did have a web page to control the AV system. And the problem with that, which was very helpful, very easy to use, web pages you can modify all that stuff easily. You gotta already have the computer on. You have to log in. Like you can't just what if you don't want the computer? What if you just wanted to show you something else? And so you're already doing a step that the user may not want just to get to the step they want to get to. So I'm definitely agreement there. Touch panels, I like them. I think to maintain them. I just think when they're done wrong, they're too cumbersome. So you have to do them correctly. And no, I am not the expert in that. But I know a bad one when I see it. Um, for example, if you throw every single button on the touch panel, what's the difference in putting a remote in the room? Like that's not what we do. That's not what us programmers do here. But yeah, I'm a fan of the button panels, especially what you mentioned about the Stream Deck. I'm sitting here with a Stream Deck right now on my desk. I've actually even toyed with the idea, but now I'm away from it, of using Stream Deck as a control system. Because why not? We can do that.
Yep, we're going to see more of those types of things. And the thing that is the benefit of having the web page is that it can be used anywhere and you can pull it up on different devices. But that's also the challenge too, is it's going to render differently on different devices. You have to worry about being compatible with different devices. And one of the things that's hard is making those changes too, to it's not something where you can easily say move this button over or I want this to look like this and fix it on the fly. The touch panels win over that.
And then also with the web page, you got to worry about security side of it because if you can access it from any device, that means it has access to the equipment from any device. So you got a security concern there, and not even talking about the full you get hacked and all that stuff. But more to think about this is again, if you don't simply put a pin or something like that, and someone knows that address, you could have a student start disrupting the class or a disruptive employee messing a meeting up because they're just going to the control interface and start hitting buttons.
No doubt. That's actually that wins in my opinion.
Yeah,
If I was going to guess, I was going to think that you were going to say to maintain the button panels because I know that you're a big fan of button panels and we've talked
yeah,
about that on previous shows and they certainly are effective for the right reasons. The one detriment that I think there is that you can't really stop somebody from just pressing anything at any time, or you can lock them out, but it doesn't necessarily prompt the user and give you that same user experience.
yeah. That user feedback is key with button panels. That's why I think something like a Stream Deck where you could theoretically throw custom ones on there, like a little message or something like that, is beneficial. And that actually kind of marries the touch panel and button panel in the same world. I think, yes, I'm a huge fan of button panels. I like them. They're simple. People know how to use them. People like that tactile thing to it. My hesitation with putting it on maintain is I see too many right now who are moving away from that direct connect to a IP base one. And I've even told manufacturers like, wait, you're telling me to control the device that's right underneath the touch panel. I have to go back to my IDF, talk on the network, and come back into the lectern. I'm like, no, I want to like just give me a hard wire right into the system.
Yeah,
So that's why I would say that needs to be updated.
yeah, I agree. I like all the things you're saying there, and it- if they are something that is a limited number, then that could also provide challenges, and I've been
Yep,
down that road before. But but the effectiveness is certainly there for the right applications and the right people.
agreed.
All right, well, let's do one more before we wrap this show up, and I hope our audience is enjoying this, and hope it's posing some questions for thought for them, and I'm enjoying it at least, and I think it's been good conversation. Um, The last one is uh, what control architecture is most effective? Local control, so you have a processor in every room and you're staying local. Centralized control, and we've talked about this a bit on a past episode where you might have a processor for a number of systems, or you may have one processor for a floor or a building, or cloud control, and that basically allows you to spin up control when you need it. And we talked to Joe Way about that in a past episode, and so all of these things that we're talking through now um, have relevance to some past episodes, so our listeners can also tune into them as well. So, what are your thoughts?
This is a tough one. And it's really hard. Like this is just trying to fit them into those three categories. And really they could go any way. But I think in my thinking here, the local control, I think we need to I'm gonna say update on local control.
That would be first.
Centralized control, I'm gonna say deprecate, and cloud control maintain.
Okay.
Now local control, why I'm saying update is there, it's good in a sense if it's done well. Like, eh, actually, now I'm thinking maybe just maintain that it's working. It's not something that really needs to be changed too much because you can take a room, throw the code on there, and get a room going. Which is good. And then cloud control update because cloud is beneficial, but there's a lot of I have my own hesitations with cloud, especially when the cloud provider goes out and then you are out of control, like nothing you can do. Um, the reason why I'm saying centralized control deprecate is that is putting all your eggs in one basket. Kind of like a cloud control, but there's a little more safeguards with cloud control versus centralized. I mean, I had a centralized device, and within 2 years, I went for three servers, physical servers. Um, so yeah, and when it's down, there's nothing you can do until you get that back up and running. Oh well, there's some manual stuff you can do, but it has a huge impact. And this is an exercise I have done. I probably have done it for the last 8 years, 9 years of thinking through this to make it easy for my users, easy for my techs, and less equipment. But then again, it's what risk are you running into? Where local control, if a room goes down, you're only impacting that room. A central or a cloud, if those go down, you're impacting more.
Yeah, I can't argue with you there. I think as much as people want to move away from local, um, I think local is the safest and it makes a lot of sense. You have your spares, you can swap things out, you can manage the device. And if something happens to it, you can also shut it off
Mm.
versus so I would say maintain, even though that's, it seems like we're not future thinking, but I think that I have to also go with you kind of convinced me on this one. Update the cloud control because it probably is what the future is going to bring, and then the centralized control deprecate because of what you said. I would hate to see number of rooms go down if a processor goes down, and also if you have to service something, you have to take a number of rooms offline, or reboot something. It's always been a challenge, and when people have said we're going to do this to save money, I think that they're really missing the boat. I think that they think that they're saving money, but they're not thinking bigger picture. So the centralized
Yeah.
is a risk.
I think that's a thought exercise that, everyone needs to go through and is look at all the risk, do a risk analysis. Um, because every single one of these have a risk to it. Even local control has a risk to it. Um, and you have to be able to accept that risk, and you have to understand what those risks are. I mean, we saw not even with control, they had nothing to do with control or AV, but with the cloud provider. Look what happened to campus and infrastructure, their parent company. That that was hugely impacting higher ed because of a single point. And that, like, I kind of point centralized and cloud in the same bucket because all the only difference is cloud is somebody else is managing it, not you. Um, but like I said, there's usually a little more safeguards there with the clouds. Like you can spin up another cloud environment quickly. You have the data centers backing you. You have power. You have dedicated employees running those. So a little more safeguards on the cloud versus centralized. Um, but same thing. You're putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts about latency or if there's security as well with the cloud?
So yeah, security is a big one. Latency is there's always going to be latency. But I think right now, with the monitoring technology and the monitoring speed, we're seeing like it's not a noticeable difference unless you really are hitting some slow patches. I think the biggest one is the risk, the security. Um, you know, that's also another thing you got to look at your BAA and all that stuff with your cloud provider is who owns who owns the data. Um, and with us in AV, you also got to think about traffic. So a lot of these cloud providers, they do a cost per packet in and a cost per packet out. So yeah, our controls might be low packets, no big impact. But if you're sending video streams, those are big packages, and that's going in and out of that cloud provider. That could really rack up your bill, if that's what's in the agreement. So you really have to look at all aspect, not just like, oh, if it goes down, I lose these rooms, because there's a lot more. You got the hidden costs, the impact to education, impact to meetings, um, the even the overhead costs of okay, the packets and all that stuff. If you're sending them up and out and you're paying per transfer.
Yeah. Good, really good points. And I'm trying to think a little bit too in terms of if we are saying AV is IT, how can we move more toward that IT model? Cloud was certainly one of the options, and centralized can be another, but there's I guess different ways to look at it. But your point is important there.
So IT saw a lot of I the thing is where at least my experience, I'm going off of my experience here. I'm no expert. I haven't really been in this field in a long time on the IT side, is they did do a lot of centralized systems. And they're moving to the cloud mainly because what's called um, server sprawl or data center sprawl, where you had your data centers at universities, your businesses were huge rooms. You would have 10, 15, 20 racks of physical equipment to centralize everything. So all you're moving to the cloud was we're going to downsize our data center, and we're going to put this into dedicated data center locations.
And I
Um,
think
yeah,
that addresses it right there.
yeah,
No, that is a great point. Thank you. And
you're
and
welcome.
and I and you know I think I've enjoyed really looking at it from a lot of different angles, and I think that that's what a lot of these questions provide for us.
They do, and that's why I like these questions and kind of this game because it really makes you think below the surface. You don't just take a surface value. You got to really dive into it and see the full nuts and bolts to it. The prime example I'm seeing in my world in with the medical school is a lot of times you look at companies' websites and they say they're HIPAA compliant. You would think that on face value, great, they're HIPAA compliant. But what does that actually mean? Like some sites give you a free account. Usually the free account is not HIPAA compliant. You have to go into paid. They don't really spell that out on the website. You might be using their free product and going, well, I'm HIPAA compliant. No, you're not.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good one, and I also like the fact that you and I, although we our worlds overlap in some areas, we also have other experiences too that are vastly different, and that's what makes this industry so interesting is that there isn't one answer or one solution for any one problem or need.
Yeah, and that's another thing I love, like just in general about the IT AV thing is what I do is right for my environment. It doesn't mean it's right for someone else's environment. Even in computers, there is no one path to get something done. A lot of times there's different ways of doing it.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like this was a good episode from your perspective, and I thought so as well. So I think maybe we'll give it a shot again on our next episode.
Yeah, I like it. It was a good change to what we normally do, and I think it's something we can start adding to our repertoire.
Absolutely. Well, if you're listening, I mean, I hope you're listening out there. Please let us know what you think, and also if you want to share your insight on any of these questions and I'll pose any for the future, we'd love to hear from you as always. But James, if people wanted to get in touch with you, if they wanted to keep up with what you're doing, how could they do so?
So you can Google me and find me. I'm out there. Again, Google me, you'll come across me. I'm in the LinkedIn community as the programmer. And again, I'm out there. You'll find me.
Absolutely. And yeah, LinkedIn is a great place to find me as well at Steve Greenblatt. And our group is over 200 people, believe that or not. So there are people out there who are interested in what we have to say and what we're doing. And we try to continue some of these conversations and create some engagement. So join us there. It's free to get in, and it's an open group on LinkedIn called Ask the Programmer. Um, you can also, if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, you can listen to us on your favorite podcast player, or vice versa. If you're listening to us, please check us out on YouTube and you can get the video version. My company, Control Concepts, is a supporter of this podcast, and we're actually going to be unveiling a new website about our supported products. So it's at ccisupported.net. Check that out, and you'll be able to download and find out more about the manufacturers and the products that we've developed and support. And we be interested to getting your feedback on that site. If our main site is controlconcepts.net, and you could find out more about the integrations that we develop for products or some of the additional utilities that we provide that add functionality to systems. So thank you for listening and watching. This is a new format, and we'd love to hear from you. And until next time, this has been Ask the Programmer.